We have all heard the tales of the Headless Horseman. The tales differ depending on what part of the world you are from. The myth has been a motif of European folklore since at least the Middle Ages. The Headless Horseman is traditionally depicted of a man upon horseback who is missing his head. Depending on the legend, he can be seen carrying his head, riding headless, or even have a carved flaming pumpkin for a head. My story tells of a young man who hears about this myth and wanted to find out for himself on whether the legend was real or make-believe. He was a real fan of myths and legends, but also believed in mass hysteria. He heard of a town where the legend was the strongest, with reports from almost all of the town folks. Researching this town and making a decision, he booked a plane ticket for the small town of Sleepy Hollow. It is told that in the town of Sleepy Hollow on All Hallows Eve, when the barrier to the afterlife is at its weakest, a horse can be heard riding in the distance. Anyone that is courageous and willing enough to go looking for this sound is greeted by the foul odor of rotten death. The odor makes the people sick to their stomach. Many run home on smelling the foul odor, but the few that do fight and walk on now resides in the city's crazy house. Upon reading this on the internet, the man got all excited, but also remembers that mass hysteria can be a real thing and all it takes is just one person to witness the myth come alive. After 17 hours, the man had arrived at his designated airport. While walking to the main entrance, he sees his taxi driver that he ordered before you boarded the plane. "Where to?" said the taxi driver. "To Sleepy Hollow, if you may." The man got confused as the taxi man gave us this look as to say, "Here we go again, another one to the nut house." The man shook it off, thinking that maybe he didn't like him somehow. 30 minutes have passed and the man is now at Sleepy Hollow. The taxi drops him off at the local hotel. He pulls off laughing, leaving the man thinking, what on earth does he find funny? As he has arrived one day before All Hallows Eve, he decided that he would walk around town and get the town folks' story of the Headless Horseman. The best place he could think about going would be the local dinner in the public records house. Now at the records house, he could not find a damn thing about this legend he wants to see. Next he went to the local dinner and asked the customers what they believed in about the Headless Horseman. To his dismay, they all answered with the same output: if you go looking for the Headless Horseman, you will lose your mind and will be a forever guest in Sleepy Hollow. But not believing the locals, he wanted to find this out for himself. The man, now back at his hotel room, decides to go on his laptop computer and research the legend a little more. After all, he wanted to see if the Headless Horseman just turned up or whether a ritual would be needed to summon him. Upon researching the legend, he came upon a piece that really caught his interest, and this got him thinking. The website he visited was from the town he was now visiting. But what caught his eyes was this sentence: "To whoever processed the head of the demon on his horse shall have total domain over his soul, and so the demon will do their bidding." After reading more into the legend and visiting a few more websites, the man decides to go to bed. After all, tomorrow night is the big night the demon is supposed to show himself. At about 11 p.m. the man gets together his stuff, camera, ghost machines, and set out into the woods. After all, the walk will take about an hour to get to the spot where the tale has been seen. After what seems to take forever, the man arrives at his destination. Now with his camera out and looking around, he cannot find nor can he hear anything. The man walks around for about 3 hours looking for any signs, but he now gives in and decides to walk back into town. Just as he packs up his stuff and starts walking, he can smell a foul odor that seems to make him heat. Now he hears the clacking of what appears to be a horse trotting. The man starts to get excited and again takes out his camera to gather evidence. After looking around for a short time, he can see what seems to be fire in the distance, but this does not make sense as fire does not spread in that way. After a few minutes, the fire seems to get bigger and he can now hear the horse. His heart starts pounding hard. I have to get out of here, he told himself, but curiosity kept him in his place. The horse got closer and closer, but the man can still not see where the horse is. He turns around and face to face, he smells the breath of the horse upon his face. Now white as a ghost concealed in his place, his curiosity got the best of him. He just had to look up. Upon looking at the headless creature upon his horse, the demon took out his sword, which seemed to burst into flame, and the last thing the man saw was the sword cutting through his neck. The sword, however, did not cut through his neck, but instead left a burned mark seared into his flesh. His mind instantly gone. He is now the newest member of the nut house at Sleepy Hollow, and that is what he shall remain for the rest of his life.